Hi, today's reading tip of the day is scanning. What is scanning, you may ask? Well, scanning often gets confused with skimming, but what scanning really is reading a text in a focused way in order to find specific information. Have you ever looked in a dictionary in search of that one pesky word that's giving you so much trouble? You may have recalled that when you've done this in the past, that your eyes will move rapidly across the page, reading absolutely everything while still simultaneously looking for that one word. This is actually an example of simple scanning. It's called simple scanning because you're scanning a piece of simple text. For the purpose of today's lesson and to help you with the reading that's ahead, we are going to focus on complex scanning. Now, complex scanning is what we use when we look at texts like newspaper articles, magazine articles, and nonfiction and fiction. And when you're reading fiction, there are actually three things that you need to keep in mind when you scan. The first is to pay attention to the order of information. How has the author arranged the story? No matter what you read, an author generally has a good idea and has the good intention of arranging the information in a logical way. For example, 99.99999% of stories that you read will open with a beautiful description of the setting and introduce you to the main characters. This is ordering information in a logical way. The second thing that you need to pay attention to is keywords and phrases. This is so you know what you're scanning for. If you don't know what you're scanning for, how are you going to scan? If you're really new at this, what you can try to do is make a list of keywords and phrases that you want to find when you go back to scan. For example, are you scanning for the main idea? Are you scanning for details about the characters? Are you scanning for details about the setting? Are you looking for plot twists? No matter what you are looking for, take a chance, write it down, see if you can go back and find it. If you can't, chances are it's not your scanning technique that's lacking, but it's your actual keywords and phrases. Remember, be specific. The last thing you need to keep in mind when you're scanning in fiction is to have a technique. There are lots of scanning techniques out there, but I particularly have two in mind that I want to teach you today. The first one is called the Z sweep. Now, with the Z sweep, you'll take your hand, move it across a line of text, move it diagonally across the page over, 3 or 5 lines, and back across another line of text, all the way down the page. Let me show you on the board. So you take your hand across the line of text, diagonally across the page, across the line of text, and diagonally across the page and back across the line of text. That's a Z sweep. The other technique I want to talk to you about briefly is the S curve. The S curve is very similar to the Z sweep, but with the S curve, you're actually going to not have such jerky movements with your hand, and you're going to go across every single line of text, like so. Let me show you. Take your hand across the top line, curve under the next line, curve under the next line, curve again, and curve again. That's an S curve, obviously, because it looks like an S in a curve. So you might be saying, this is great, Shanae. Why do I need this? Well, you need it for a few reasons. When you're reading fiction, you need to be able to follow the author's argument and style. That's why we scan. That's one reason why we scan. The second reason why you need scanning in fiction is if you plan on making inferences about the text. We'll talk about inferences tomorrow. Making inferences about the text after you're done reading it. You need support when you make inferences. The text is your support. The third reason why you need scanning when you're reading fiction is because we forget stuff. Especially if you're reading a complex or long piece of text, you're bound and determined to forget something at some point. So scanning is a really good way to go back, find that information that you lost without having to reread the entire text and waste a whole bunch of time. So now that you've learned a bit about scanning, here's what I want you to do. Test your knowledge on scanning by taking the quiz all about scanning that goes along with this video. I also want you to read the first 5 paragraphs of How to Build a Fire by Jack London. Just the first 5 paragraphs. First, I want you to read it word for word like you would normally. Then I want you to use the scanning techniques I've showed you today to go back and find the main idea, details about the character, and details about the setting. This will help you for our hangout on Wednesday when we play our game. I hope this video has been helpful to you, and I hope you have very happy reading.